The wind whipped across the rooftops of the city as Lady Eveline leapt from one building to the next, her dark cloak flaring like a shadow against the moonlight. Below, the streets were alive with chaos, a merchant's cart overturned, children screaming as guards shoved through the crowd, but Eveline moved with perfect precision, her heart pounding with exhilaration. Her hands gripped the dagger she had concealed in her boot, her eyes scanning for any threat as she landed silently on the next rooftop. Tonight, like so many nights before, she was not Lady Eveline, the noblewoman bound by etiquette and society's rigid rules. She was the Silver Raven, a shadow that struck fear into corrupt officials and hope into the oppressed. Her latest target was a tax ledger held by one of the king's greedy ministers, a man who had driven dozens of families into starvation. Eveline had spent days planning this heist, memorizing the patrol routes and the guards' routines, and she felt a thrill of satisfaction as she slipped past the final sentries. The ledger was hers in seconds, her fingers tracing the entries that confirmed the injustices she had vowed to punish. A low whistle of surprise reached her ears, and she froze, recognizing the sound immediately. "Thought you could outsmart me, Silver Raven." The voice belonged to Captain Roderick, the crown's sharpest investigator, his tone equal parts amused and accusing. He stepped from the shadows with the confidence of a man who always believed he was in control, and his dark eyes locked onto hers. Eveline's pulse quickened, not with fear but with the electric tension of challenge. "Captain," she replied smoothly, her voice calm despite the dagger now in her hand. "I didn't think you'd follow me all the way here." "I don't follow rumors, Lady Eveline," he said, a faint smirk tugging at the corners of his lips. "I follow facts. And the facts say you've been taking what doesn't belong to you." Her eyes narrowed, a small smirk of her own forming. "Perhaps what doesn't belong to the people does belong to me. Or do you disagree, Captain?" Roderick's smirk deepened. "I always disagree when it comes to the law." The tension was electric, their gazes locked across the small rooftop space. Eveline weighed her options, knowing a direct fight could be disastrous. Before either could make a move, the sky above them shimmered strangely. A comet, bright and pulsating with an unnatural glow, streaked across the heavens, casting a silver light over the city. Both stared upward, mesmerized. And then, in an instant, everything shifted. The warehouse fell silent as they realized the gravity of their predicament. Outside, the city was alive, the night continuing as if nothing had changed, but inside, two people who had never truly understood each other were now forced to live in each other's shoes. A faint light flickered through the cracks in the boarded windows, illuminating their swapped forms. And as the comet disappeared beyond the horizon, Eveline and Roderick exchanged a wordless understanding. They had to survive, adapt, and uncover the secret of this supernatural swap, or risk losing everything. "By the way," Eveline said with a sharp edge of humor, "if we survive this, remind me to never trust celestial events again." Roderick smirked, despite the tension. "Noted. And remind me to never underestimate a noblewoman." If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit that like button, comment your favorite moment, and subscribe to follow the Silver Raven and Captain Roderick's incredible journey. And just like that, the night stretched before them, full of uncertainty, danger, and a bond neither had asked for but both now depended on. The warehouse was silent except for the heavy breaths of Eveline and Roderick, each coming to terms with the impossible truth. Eveline flexed her fingers in Roderick's body, testing the unfamiliar strength, and muttered, "I hate this already. Everything feels too big, too clumsy." Roderick, trying to mimic Eveline's elegant movements in her body, stumbled over a loose plank and nearly fell flat on his face. "And I hate this. I've never felt so fragile. How do you do this all the time? One wrong step, and I'm dead." A moment of silence passed as they tried to regain composure. Then Eveline's eyes narrowed. "Listen, we can bicker all night, or we can figure out how to survive." "And I vote survive." Roderick nodded reluctantly. "Agreed. We need a plan. First, we avoid the guards tonight. Then we figure out how this curse, or whatever it is, can be undone." Before Eveline could respond, the urchin who had followed them peeked in through a broken window. "Silver Raven! Captain! They're searching everywhere for you. The streets are crawling with soldiers and city watch." His voice trembled with urgency. Eveline's heart sank. "Great. Just great. They'll never know we switched bodies, but if someone spots us acting differently, we're done." Roderick's brow furrowed. "Then we blend in. Go into hiding, gather information, and most importantly, don't get caught." Their first challenge was immediate. Eveline, in Roderick's body, had to navigate the city's underbelly with his strength but none of her agility. Every jump, every alley escape, was a struggle. She cursed under her breath, moving slower than she was used to. Meanwhile, Roderick, in Eveline's body, struggled with subtle movements, balancing, climbing, even whispering softly without attracting attention. As they ducked into a narrow alley, Eveline muttered, "I don't know how you expect me to fight in this body. I feel like I'm wearing armor made of lead." Roderick, adjusting to her body, sighed. "And I don't know how you expect me to fight with elegance. I've never moved like this before." A sudden shout from the street made them freeze. Soldiers were combing the area, searching for the elusive silver raven. Eveline's mind raced. "We need to separate, less chance of both of us being caught. Meet back here in 1 hour." Roderick's eyes widened. "Separate? Are you insane? We've just swapped bodies and now you want to split up." Eveline's lips tightened. "It's the only chance we have. Trust me." With no choice, they disappeared into the maze of streets and rooftops, each grappling with the new limitations of their swapped forms. Eveline had to rely on brute strength rather than speed, while Roderick had to rely on careful observation rather than instinctive agility. In the shadows of a quiet courtyard, Eveline, Roderick now, found herself surrounded by a group of desperate villagers. They looked at her with hope and fear, unaware that the silver raven's mind was not in her body. One elderly man stepped forward. "Please, you must help us. The guards are taking our food and destroying our homes. We have nowhere else to turn." Eveline's heart clenched despite her frustration with her new body. I'll do what I can," she said, her voice sounding strange coming from Roderick's mouth. She realized that the villagers could see only her appearance, not the person behind it. Every decision felt heavier, every action more cautious. Meanwhile, Roderick, Eveline now, was sneaking into the city's administrative offices, trying to gather information about the comet that had caused their swap. The intricacies of the building, the guards' routines, and the delicate handling of papers and keys challenged him like nothing in his law enforcement training. He whispered to himself, frustration thick in his voice. "I can't believe I'm being you. I can't even hold the ledger properly." Hours passed, tension mounting. Both faced the constant threat of discovery, the unease of unfamiliar bodies, and the emotional weight of experiencing each other's lives firsthand. Eveline, Roderick's body, confronted an abusive soldier threatening a group of children. Her first instinct was to strike, but she had to remember she was in Roderick's form, not hers. The swing was heavier, less precise, yet it landed hard enough to send the soldier sprawling. The children's wide eyes reminded her why she risked everything to become the Silver Raven. Roderick, maneuvering through the offices, discovered an ancient manuscript hidden in a locked cabinet. His fingers trembled as he read the incantation describing a comet-induced soul transfer. "This must be it," he whispered. "If we follow these instructions, maybe we can reverse it." At the same time, Eveline returned to the rendezvous point, adrenaline still thrumming in her veins. Roderick was there, holding the manuscript with a look of wonder mixed with apprehension. "We need to follow this," he said. "But it requires trust, precision, and timing. One mistake and..." Eveline cut him off. "I know. We don't have the luxury of error anymore." They argued less now, tension replaced by mutual respect and necessity. Each recognized the other's struggles, frustrations, and strengths in a way that no previous confrontation or rivalry had allowed. Suddenly, a shout echoed from the street below. Guards were approaching, suspicious of the two figures lingering in the alley. Eveline grabbed Roderick's arm, his body, and pulled him into a hidden passage behind an old door. The alley fell silent again, leaving only the sound of their ragged breaths. "You're stronger than I imagined," Eveline admitted grudgingly, realizing Roderick's body gave her abilities she hadn't possessed before, raw strength, endurance, and resilience. "And you are braver than I realized," Roderick said softly, still adjusting to Eveline's form. "And your compassion, your dedication, it's inspiring. I've been chasing you, trying to capture you, and I never understood until now." The moment was fleeting, interrupted by the distant clanging of a bell signaling a curfew breach. Time was running out. They had to act quickly if they wanted to reverse the swap before it caused irreparable damage. Roderick opened the manuscript and traced his finger along the ancient symbols. "There's a ritual, Eveline. It involves timing with the next celestial alignment, another comet. We have maybe a week, maybe less. Eveline's eyes hardened with determination. Then we prepare. We gather what we need, we avoid the guards, and we reverse this. No mistakes. Roderick nodded, a mixture of resolve and anxiety etched into his features. And we survive the week. Survive, Eveline confirmed, and maybe, just maybe, we'll understand each other enough to not kill each other in the process. As they disappeared into the night, the city seemed quieter, almost waiting. Yet danger lurked everywhere, guards, rival thieves, suspicious nobles, all oblivious to the supernatural struggle unfolding in the bodies of their most unlikely heroes. If you're loving this story and can't wait to see how Eveline and Roderick navigate this impossible swap, make sure to like the video, leave a comment telling us what you think will happen next, and subscribe for the next part of their thrilling adventure. Their journey had only begun. Every step was a challenge, every choice a potential disaster. But together, swapped or not, they were unstoppable in their determination to survive, and to reclaim their true selves. Night had fallen over the city like a heavy velvet curtain, and the streets seemed to hold their breath. Eveline, in Roderick's body, moved cautiously through the alleys, every sense alert. The weight of his body made her movement slower than she liked, but she was learning, muscles remembering motions they'd never performed before. Every shadow could hide a soldier or an informer, every creak could be the sound of discovery. Roderick, now in Eveline's body, followed close behind, his eyes darting to every corner. I hate this, he muttered under his breath. I hate feeling this vulnerable. One misstep, Anne. Stop whining, Eveline snapped, though her voice had a protective edge she hadn't intended. We don't have the luxury to think like that. Focus. Their path took them to the heart of the city's underground market, a labyrinth of narrow corridors, flickering lanterns, and whispered secrets. Eveline's instincts guided them, even in Roderick's body. They needed supplies for the ritual mentioned in the manuscript, rare herbs and relics that only the underground traders would know. As they moved, a familiar voice called from the shadows. Silver Raven? Captain. Both spun, weapons instinctively raised. A figure emerged, a young thief they had once helped evade the city watch, now standing with a mix of admiration and fear. I can help, the boy said. I know the market, the traders. I can get you what you need. Eveline relaxed slightly. Good. Lead the way, but no tricks. They followed him through twisting alleys and secret doors until they reached a dimly lit stall overflowing with jars of herbs, crystals, and strange artifacts. The trader, an old woman with sharp eyes, regarded Eveline in Roderick's body carefully. The usual? Or something different tonight? Eveline hesitated. Something different. We need, she glanced at Roderick, struggling to find the right words in his voice, something rare. For a ritual. The old woman's eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering. A ritual, you say? Dangerous business. Only a fool meddles with forces beyond their understanding. Roderick stepped forward, his voice steadier than he felt in Eveline's body. We're not fools. We have purpose. We need your help. The woman studied them for a long moment before nodding slowly. Fine. But beware. Magic like this has a price. She handed them small pouches and a scroll. Everything you need is here. Do not waste it. As they left the market, a cold wind swept through the streets, carrying with it the distant sound of clanging bells. Guards. Lots of them. Eveline's pulse quickened. We've been followed, she hissed, scanning rooftops and alleys. Roderick's sharp eyes caught movement. Up there. 3 guards, approaching from the north. Without thinking, Eveline grabbed his sword from its sheath, though she had never wielded it herself, and sprinted toward the shadows. The chase was frantic. She was slower in his body, but brute force allowed her to vault over crates and topple obstacles in the guard's path. Roderick struggled behind, in Eveline's body, balancing speed with stealth, slipping silently from rooftop to rooftop. The guards shouted, weapons clanging against each other as they pursued. Eveline's heart raced, a mix of fear and exhilaration. Every step was a test, every leap a gamble. They reached the safety of a narrow rooftop alley, both panting, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. We can't keep running like this, Eveline said. We need a strategy, or this ends badly. Roderick nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. Agreed. But we're learning. I see why you've managed to stay one step ahead of everyone all these years. And I? I respect that more than I thought I would. Eveline's lips twitched in the faintest of smiles. Finally. You're welcome. They spent the next few hours preparing for the ritual. The manuscript described a specific location, a high cliff outside the city, where the comet's light would be strongest. The ritual required precise timing, focus, and, crucially, trust. Eveline paced, tension radiating from her every movement. I can't believe this is happening. If we fail, if we make one mistake, we're stuck. Forever. Roderick looked at her, his expression unusually soft. We won't fail. Not together. Anne? I think I'm beginning to understand you, Eveline. Not just your actions, but your heart. Eveline blinked, caught off guard. Careful, Captain. That's almost a compliment. He smiled faintly, shrugging. Almost. Night deepened. They rested briefly, huddled together in a hidden cave, the scroll and herbs laid out before them. Their conversation turned quiet, introspective, each reflecting on the other's life. I never knew, Roderick admitted, how much pressure you live under. The constant danger, the moral choices you have to make every night, it's terrifying. And yet, you keep going. Eveline's gaze softened. And I never knew how constricted your life is. How the law can blind people to the suffering around them. I thought you were just a man of rules. Now I see, you're a man of principle, too. It's just different from mine. They shared a rare moment of silence, the comet's light faintly illuminating their faces. For the first time, there was no argument, no body-swapping confusion, just understanding. But peace was short-lived. The sound of galloping hooves echoed from below. A patrol, larger and more relentless than before, had discovered their trail. Eveline's heart leapt. We're out of time. We need to move, now. Roderick grabbed her hand, his body, her hand, and they sprinted toward the cliffside, the manuscript and herbs strapped securely to their backs. Every leap, every dodge was tense. Guards shouted, arrows whistled past, and the wind threatened to throw them off balance. Finally, they reached the edge of the cliff. The comet shone directly above, bright and pulsating, bathing the rocky outcrop in silvery light. This was it, the moment of truth. Eveline laid the herbs and scroll on the ground, her movements careful and deliberate. We follow the instructions exactly, she said. No improvising. One mistake and we could lose everything, Roderick finished for her, their eyes locking. I trust you. She hesitated, then nodded. I trust you, too. As they began the ritual, chanting the incantations and arranging the herbs in the precise pattern, the wind howled, carrying the comet's light directly onto them. A strange vibration ran through their bodies, and they felt the world shift around them. Panic and hope mingled in a dizzying swirl. Just before the climax, Eveline turned to Roderick, her expression serious despite the chaos. If we survive this, if we succeed, we have to promise something. Anything, he said, feeling the same gravity. Whatever happens, no matter what our bodies have been through, we protect the city. Together. He nodded, a fierce determination in his eyes. Together. And as the comet's light enveloped them, the ritual reached its peak, a blinding flash that seemed to freeze time itself. The energy was overwhelming, a mixture of fear, pain, and anticipation. The wind tore around them, their bodies thrumming with power, the world trembling. And as they braced for the unknown. If your heart is racing like theirs, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and comment what you think will happen when the souls finally swap back. The blinding light of the comet enveloped Eveline and Roderick, their hearts pounding in unison, bodies trembling under the surge of energy. The herbs glowed, the scroll symbols etched themselves in shimmering light across the rocky ground. A deafening roar echoed through the night as the wind whipped violently around them. Eveline, in Roderick's body, gritted her teeth. Hold the focus. Don't let it distract you. Roderick, in Eveline's body, nodded fiercely, chanting the words from the manuscript. His voice shook at first, but determination steadied it. We can do this, together. A surge of force lifted them slightly off the ground, the comet's light intensifying until it was almost unbearable. They felt themselves stretch, pull, and twist in ways they had never known. Fear clawed at their minds, but beneath it lay something stronger, trust, understanding, and a shared determination to survive. Then, a sudden shock of energy split through them. Their vision blurred, colors and shapes blending, voices overlapping. Eveline gasped, I feel all me again. Roderick gripped her hand, in his body, and his voice was raw with emotion. Yes. I feel myself. We're returning. In a heartbeat, their forms stabilized. Eveline's body, graceful and familiar, was back in her control. Roderick's body, strong and precise, returned to him. Both collapsed onto the rocky ground, breathing heavily, exhausted and exhilarated. For a long moment, they said nothing, simply staring at each other, the comet's fading light casting a serene glow. Eveline broke the silence with a shaky laugh. Well, that was one way to bond. Roderick chuckled, wiping sweat from his brow. I think I've learned more about you in the past few hours than I ever did chasing you for years. Eveline's expression softened, a rare vulnerability in her eyes. And I've learned more about you than I ever thought I would. You care more than I realized, Captain. Even when bound by rules and laws. He smiled faintly. And you fight not just for yourself, but for everyone you care about. Even when it's dangerous, even when it seems impossible. Their laughter faded into silence, replaced by the gentle whisper of the wind. They were alive, their lives restored, their bond unbreakable, and the city below, unaware of the supernatural events that had just unfolded, slept peacefully. Eveline stood first, brushing dirt from her cloak. We have work to do. The city still suffers, and we've seen too much to ignore it. Roderick nodded, determination gleaming in his eyes. Then we fight, together, now that we truly understand each other. They descended the cliffside, the manuscript safely stored, their hearts aligned with purpose. Every corner of the city they passed reminded them of the struggles and injustices they had witnessed in each other's lives. The streets were quieter now, but their minds were alive with plans, strategies that combined Eveline's courage and ingenuity with Roderick's discipline and tactical mind. The next day, rumors of a mysterious comet spread through the city. Merchants whispered of strange events, some claiming to have seen shadows dancing unnaturally on rooftops. Eveline and Roderick exchanged knowing glances. The world had changed for them, and they had changed for it. A few nights later, back in their usual haunts, Eveline found herself perched atop a familiar rooftop. Roderick joined her silently, his presence no longer an intrusion but a partnership. You know, Eveline said, her voice soft, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad we went through that. Even if it was terrifying, even if it was uncomfortable. Roderick's smile was quiet but genuine. I feel the same. And now we're unstoppable. They shared a moment of silent understanding, the city sprawling endlessly before them, full of danger, corruption, and hope. Eveline's heart surged with determination. The Silver Raven and the Captain, not just rivals, but allies. The city will never see us coming. Roderick laughed softly, a rare sound. Let's make sure of that. And let's make it count. As they disappeared into the night, a subtle glow lingered in the sky. The comet had passed, but its magic, its lessons, remained. Both knew they were forever changed, not just by the swap, but by the empathy, courage, and trust it had forced into their lives. And for the YouTube audience, if you enjoyed this epic tale of courage, trust, and adventure, make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment sharing your favorite moment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next thrilling story. The Silver Raven and Captain Roderick's journey has only just begun. In the weeks that followed, Eveline and Roderick continued their missions. The bond forged in the night of the comet strengthened with each challenge. They fought corruption, protected the innocent, and uncovered deeper conspiracies that threatened the city. Their partnership became legendary, a noblewoman and an officer, once adversaries, now unstoppable together. Yet, despite all their victories, they never forgot that night, that surreal, terrifying, and transformative experience. They had walked in each other's lives, seen the world through different eyes, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than either could have imagined. And as the city slept under a new dawn, Eveline and Roderick stood atop a quiet rooftop, looking toward the horizon. The city was theirs to protect, and together, nothing could stand in their way. The story of the Silver Raven and the Captain was far from over. But one thing was certain, they would never be the same again. And once more, for the viewers watching to the very end, thank you for staying with us until the final moment. If you loved the story, hit like, comment your favorite scene, and subscribe for more unforgettable adventures. Your support helps us bring these thrilling tales to life.